Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency Raila ODINGA, Your Excellency Mother Karua, party leaders, honorable members of Parliament for the state, ladies and gentlemen. But I think we should have applauded the Honorable ODINGA for a fantastic speech. Thank you. So my colleagues and I will simply point you to, if you will, specific clauses, because the Honorable Raila ODINGA has already given to you the broad strokes and highlights of what is going on. So we'll just go into it, and we'll share the presentation with my colleagues, and at the very end there will be an opportunity for members of the fourth estate to ask questions. Now, well, look, I know some other commentators will say, how do you finance development that you do have to tax? It is true, I mean, budget is an expenditure, and then you finance it through taxation measures and through borrowing. The difficulty, of course, is that if you tax your economy beyond what is practical, then actually it collapses. If you borrow beyond what your means or what you should borrow, your economy similarly collapses. So we'll just take you clause by clause on what these taxation measures are, and explain briefly what the impact of each is. As you've all know, the bill is or looks at 5 broad areas: income tax, withholding tax, value-added tax, excise duties, and miscellaneous fees and levies. Now, it's important to remember that income tax is supposed to be a tax on income, and we'll come back to this point briefly. So let me start with turnover tax. So clauses 9 plus 24B propose to increase turnover tax from 1 to 3%, and also bring down the threshold from which you start to pay. And the threshold comes down to 1,370 shillings. Basically, if you have a kiosk around the corner selling tea and mandazi, if you sell 1,370 shillings per day, then you pay 3% of that. You can also think about it. I know many of people in the city take a taxi, like Uber or Bolt or Ruto or whatever. This is 2 taxi rides. If you take a taxi from here to there for 500 shillings, on his return or her return journey, then she'll probably already begin to pay tax. The point about turnover tax is that you're taxing the top line. You're taxing somebody whether they make a profit or not. And really, we should be looking at taxing income, not overall revenue. Clause 5 of the bill proposes to tax employee share ownership programs. If you have a small business and you want your staff to get committed to the business and you offer them some few shares, and this is a common practice with Kenyan small businesses, so that motivated to work even harder. Now, this will attract 30% because it's considered part of your compensation. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that dividends are already themselves taxed in addition to capital gains. So this will end up being a triple taxation. And you will see in the bill that the valuation, determining what is the value of these shares that this small business has provided to the employees, is up. The determination is up to the commissioner, which therefore leaves room for abuse. The bill also proposes to tax at clause 24 to increase the rate of tax from 30 to 35% for those who earn 500,000 or more, so-called high earners. In most jurisdictions in the world, corporation tax is either higher or at the same level as personal tax. So it's not in many places where you will find that the employee is taxed at a higher level than the organization that they work for. But this is what is proposed at clause 24, moving from 30 to 35%. Clause 5 targets per diems for public officers. So per diems, travel allowance, mileage will now be taxed at 30%. And now what we want to point out here, per diem is not an income. You pay or you provide it to an employee so that they might go to Mombasa or to Kisumu or Nyandarua or Machakos for work. So you cannot treat it as though it's an income and then tax it. We are quite certain this is going to affect motivation and morale and disadvantages public sector workers a great deal. I want to talk briefly about withholding tax. Now, the current level of withholding tax for professionals, if you are an architect, an engineer, a consultant in economics and so on, is 5%. So that when, as a professional, when you work for an organization or an individual and they are paying you, they withhold 5% and remit it to the tax authorities. The proposal is to tax content creators at 15%, and you will see this in clause 2 of the bill. Now this is of course quite discriminatory. Now, and you have to remember who are content creators. They are most likely young people using ICT, and the proposal is to tax them or to withhold at 15% as compared to 5% for everybody else. So it's quite discriminating, and we think it's going to discourage instead of encouraging the digital economy, and obviously has a negative impact on young people. Clause 10 and clause 24 propose to tax digital assets. Digital assets, cryptocurrency or non-fungible tokens. But let's talk about cryptocurrency like bitcoins. And the way you can think about it is the same way you think about dollars or euros. You have businesses that are called forex bureaus that buy and trade currency. You don't